Morning, this is your math sensei, Mr. Spensei, and this is STAAR review for Algebra 2023, problems 23 through 33. So first off, on 23, we have an issue here that needs to be crossed out. This should be a positive 21. So I'm just going to rewrite it below. It should be negative 3x plus 5y equals 21. Now, there's several ways to do this problem. You can plug in the answer choices, plug in the x's for the x's and the y's for y, and see which one works. I'm going to do that at the end, but I'm going to show this via matrices because that's what I taught in my class. So, blue matrix, arrow over the word edit, and we have 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3 columns. So 2 enter, 3 enter. The first row is negative 3, 5, and positive 21. Make sure you make that a positive. I know it maybe show up wrong in your paper. Then we have a 6. And even though we don't have a number, that's a negative 1 and a negative 15. Once you have that and you enter that, you're going to go blue mode to leave the matrix. And you're going to re-enter the matrix by pressing blue matrix. Blue matrix, arrow over the word math, and drop all the way down to letter B, which is RREF. Press enter, and then blue matrix, and do that twice. And we end up getting negative 2 and 3. So negative 2, comma 3 should be our answer. Now, I can check this out by plugging it into both equations. And the way this would work is I would go, well, negative 3 parenthesis negative 2 plus 5 parenthesis 3 equals 21. If it works, it needs to work for both equations, but let's try that out for the first one. So negative 3 parenthesis negative 2 plus 5 parenthesis 3. And sure enough, it equals 21. So it worked for the first equation. So let's try it for the second. For the second equation, we have negative 6 parenthesis negative 2 plus, not plus, excuse me, minus parenthesis 3. And it needs to equal 15, negative 15. So let's see if it does that. So negative 6 parenthesis negative 2 parenthesis minus parenthesis 3. And somehow I have an error. Oh, excuse me. This should have been not a negative 6. That's a positive 6. That's why. So let's try it again. 6 parenthesis negative 2 parenthesis minus 3. And we get our negative 15. And that means it checked out for both of these equations. So negative 2, negative 3 is the answer. Matrices is the best if you know how to do it. Otherwise, plug in each one for x and y until it works for both equations. Try the first one in the first equation. If it works, then try it in the second. That one, and just keep going back and forth until you find one that works for both equations. Okay, need to pause for just a moment. So it says, which expressions are equivalent to 12x squared minus 48x plus 48? Well, this is going to be a quadratic, and the reason I know it's a quadratic is because it has a squared term. So we're looking for which ones of these, and it says select two answers, are exactly the same. Now, it'd be nice to know how to factor this out, but let's say you didn't know how to factor it. Well, if you didn't know how to factor it, the easiest thing to do is go into Desmos and place this in, and then we'll place each one of the answer choices in. If the answer choices lay on top of this, we have the right answer. So let's go ahead and try this out. I'm going to share my screen. And the original equation was 12, and we have to drop down to the little keyboard, get the squared. Oh, excuse me. Back up. Yeah, 12. Then I need the x. By the way, make sure you don't have the capital on, because if you have the capital on, it won't work. So 12, and then x, and we're going to square that. And then we're going to go minus 48x. Well, what's going on here? We're having problems. Try again. There's a squared button. There we go. Minus 48x plus 48. So there's our parabola. Now, in this case, we only touch the x-axis in one place, so we only have one root. All right. So even though it didn't, I'm trying to get that to, there it is. All right. So we only have one root because we only touch it in one place. We only have one x-intercept. Okay. And we are opening up. The next equation, or the first one, is 12 parentheses x minus 2. And we also need to square that. And hey, that one lays directly on top. So A is an answer choice, but please remember it said select 2. So we have to make sure we select 2. So A is an answer choice. So now that we know that A is, we can change that and we can go to B. And B, it starts off with negative 12 parentheses x squared plus 4x minus, or excuse me, plus 4, close the parentheses. And when I do that, not only is it not the same, it's facing the wrong direction, so we know that one's not right. So B is not an answer choice. So then we go try C. And C is 12 parentheses x minus 4 parentheses x minus 1. And we get a totally different parabola. I need to zoom out so you can see it. There it is. It's not lying directly on top, so that one's incorrect. So C is not an answer choice. I go to D, and I have negative 1, 1, 2, parentheses, x plus 2, and I square it. And that one's not correct either. So then it must be that, so we know it's not D, so it must be E, but let's try it out. So E is 12 parentheses x parentheses x squared minus 4x and then plus 4. And that one lies directly on top. So our answer choices, and remember it said 2 for 24 are A and E. And once again, I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about it real quickly because I'm going to draw that graph. Okay. So I've drawn it right here. This is my vertex. It's also, in this case, it's a minimum because it's the lowest point on the graph. So my vertex is at 2, 0. If they'd asked me for my line of symmetry, it's always going to be x equal for this class. In this case, x equals, well, it draws through 2, so x equals 2. My domain is negative infinity less than x less than infinity, which is all reals because we have arrows going in both ways. And my range in this case is, what's my lowest y value? Well, this is my minimum, so if that's my minimum, my lowest y value is 0. So 0 less than or equal to y less than or equal to or less than infinity, but we don't have that part. So y is greater than or equal to 0 because we need to flip it around. So all real numbers greater than or equal to 0. Number 25, which quadratic function in vertex form can be represented by the graph that has a vertex at 1, 46 and passes through the point 3, negative 10? So we want a vertex at 146. So this means it's either going to be the high point's either going to be 140, either the max or the min. We know that this has to be 146. Now I can tell that by looking at the uh, the equation that it's either going to be B or it's going to be D. And the reason I know that is because insiders lie. So this is a positive one. I switch the signs, I get a negative one. Outsiders tell the truth. Now that's how I would know that I could do that. But let's say you forgot that, and that'd be easy to forget. So we're going to plug these in and see which one actually is. So with that said, let's go to enter these questions and see which one has a vertex. And remember, the vertex is either going to be the high point or the low point, and then passes through 3, -10. So we're going to go to Desmos and we're going to start plugging in all the answers. Okay, so our first question is y equals 9 parenthesis x minus 3. And then we have to use a little squared button plus 10. And there's my vertex. My vertex is at 310 and I needed 146. That's not it, so A is the wrong answer. The next one for B, this changed to a 1 and this changed to a 46. And we're supposed to pass through 146. Well, the good news is that does pass through 146. So that's good. But we also have to pass through point 3, -10. So I'm going to go put that there. Parenthesis 3, comma, -10. Oops, that's not a comma. That's a comma. Then I'm going to have a label that point. Well, I don't see that point on it, so I'm going to zoom out. Oh, no, that point is not on that graph. It's not even close. So even though the vertex is in the right spot, the point isn't. So it can't be that one. All right. So then we're going to go to C. And C starts off with -9, and then it's -3, and then plus 10. Well, my vertex is at 310, and I needed it at 146, so that's not it. So it better be D. Well, D is -9, then x minus 1 squared plus 46. And there's my vertex. So my vertex worked. So now let's try the point. And the point was 3, comma, -10. All right, I'm gonna have to pause this for just a moment. Okay, I'm going to go back over. So when we put the point on there, and I have to go back and reshare it. When I put the point on there, it's close, but I can't tell for sure. So to tell for sure, I'm going to copy the original equation in, and I'm going to plug in 3 for x. If I plug in 3 for x, oops, make that a 3. And this, when I do that, I get 10. So when I plug in 3, I get 10, and I'm supposed to do, and that's what I'm supposed to get. So there we go. Appreciate you on that one. Hold on just a second. We're going to do a quick pause. All right, sorry about that. Anyway, our answer choice to D to 25 is D. Okay, moving on. Table 26. On table 26, the table shows the number of customers each hour for an online sale. Which function models the data in the table? So we have it, and we're like, gosh, what are we supposed to do? Well, first off, when I look at this looks a little bit different order, but this is y equals mx plus b. I need to input this table into Desmos. So we need to swap over to Desmos. We're going to plug that in, and we're going to see which one gives us this equation. Now this, remember, these are just saying y, and they have b minus mx. B is our y-intercept, and m is our slope. I know it's not in y equals mx plus b format, but it's close enough that we should be able to figure out if it's next to the x, that that's our slope. So with that said, let's go slip over to Desmos and start inputting this information. So we got all this stuff up here. I need to clear that out. What I need to do is get a table. I hit the plus button, I hit the table, and we start inputting. And we have 1 enter, 2 enter, 3 enter, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I probably didn't need to put them all in, but it's just good practice. And on your STAAR test, I highly recommend you just take the time to do it because you want to pass it the first time. You want to be done with it, and you want a good score. So take the time and do it right. Don't rush on the day of the STAAR test. Just take your time. I know everybody wants to be done, and I don't blame you for that, but do take your time. Like, see, I just made a mistake typing it in. Make sure you always go back and check your numbers. When it comes to making mistakes on typing, I'm one of the worst. So I always need to go back. I have 1 through 7, 296, 215, 15, 70, 33, 89, and 51. That looks good. Once I have that, I put this click on the domino, which says add regression. The first choice is my slope. So I notice my slope is a negative 41x. I'm going to copy this equation down so it shows up a little better. So we have y equals negative 41x plus 337. Okay, I've got that written down. We're going to look back at our answer choices. So I need a negative 41x. Well, both of these have negative 41x. C and D do not, so it can't be that. Then I have a plus 337 right here, so I need a plus 337. B has that. A is wrong. That means my answer choice to 26 is B. Number 27, the function WT equals 270, 1.029 raised to the T power can be used to estimate the number of the whales in the north. We need to recognize that this is an exponential equation. So this is y equals a times b to the x. So a is my start or y-intercept. It can be either one. So it's either my start, my initial, my y-intercept. B is greater than 1. If b is greater than 1, in this case, our start in this case is 270. B is greater than 1, and b equals 1.029. But if it's greater than 1, we have growth. All right? If b is less than 1, we have the decay. So what does 1.029 represent? Well, 1.029 is b, and that represents growth. The initial number of whales. No, A is the initial number of whales. That's 270. The decay factor. No, this is growth, so this makes this wrong. The number of whales at the end of the first year, that has nothing to do with it. The growth factor, there's the word. All right, and we said that that was growth. So D, 27 is D. A line contains points -2, -2, and 4, -2. So if I go to -2, -2, and then positive 4, negative 2. You know what? I believe there's a typo on this one. I need to pause for just a moment and figure out where that is. There is a typo here. This should not be 4, negative 2. This should be 4, positive 2. If you don't have that, it's not going to work. So 4, positive 2. So 1, 2, 1, 2. So let's plot that point. So 4, 2. And let's go ahead and count to that. So if I count to that, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 up. And they asked for the slope. And remember, slope is the rise over the run. So we went up 4. And it's a positive 4. And then we went over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Going to the right is positive. So we have positive 4 over 6. But I don't see that answer. So let's try this. 4 divided by 6, math, enter, enter. And we have 2/3. Let me do that again. 4 divided by 6, math, enter, enter, and I get 2/3. So I get positive 2/3, so that's my C. Now, having said that, just say you're not too comfortable counting on the graph. Let's go to Desmos and do the same thing, because what's going to happen is we're going to get y equals mx plus b, where m is my slope, b is the y-intercept. All right, and let's just see if we can't get that 2/3. So let's swap over there and try that out. So in this case, we have plus table -2 and -2. And here we have 4, 2. We're going to press the domino button. We got an equation, and we get negative 0.6667. Now, the problem with that we know that that's our slope because it's next to the x, and it's positive. So it's positive, so that gets rid of our negative answer. So I'm going to stop right there because we know it's a positive. I'm going to write down the 0.6667 for the x. I'm going to stop our share. There we go. So that's what we got, 0.6667, but I don't see that. But first off, it gets rid of these two because we know it's not negative. So I need to divide these out. What's 3 divided by 2? Well, this is 1.5. So this is wrong. And then I go 2 divided by 3, and I get the 0.667. So once again, we know C is correct. Moving on to 29. What is the solution to the equation? Well, when it's asking for the solution, you need to plug it into Desmos, but you have to rewrite it. So this is 5 parentheses 2n plus 4 squiggle 4 parentheses 2n plus 9. So with that said, let's go back to Desmos and see what happens. So here we go. 5 parentheses 2n plus 4, close parentheses, squiggle 4 parentheses 2n plus 9. And we get n equals 8. And that's all we need. So now we know that n equals 8, but we remember but the original equation had w, so that means w equals 8. So that means A, C, and D are incorrect. Our answer choice for 29 is B. 30. 2 types of tickets are sold at a baseball game are the standard and discounted tickets. The price of a discovered ticket was 80% of the price of a standard ticket. There are 153 standard tickets sold at the baseball game. There are 47 tickets sold, discounted tickets sold at the baseball game. the total amount from the standard disc was this. So we basically have 153 standard tickets plus 47 discounted tickets equals 2,649.34. So that's an equation. And we also have the equation y equals 0.8x. What is the best estimate of the price? So I could try to graph this thing, and I'm going to do my best to do so. So if I plug in 0 for x, if I plug in 0 for x, and I can do that by just plugging in 0 for x and finding out what y is. So y, or not y, so 0.80 parenthesis 0. All I did was plug in 0 for x equals 0.80 parenthesis 0, and I end up getting 0. So I have a 0, 0. So that's my starting point. I could also, let's say a round number, let's say 10. So let's plug in 10, 0.80 times 10. And I go 0.80 times 10. And by the way, this is a tough question, and I get 8. So now I have 0, and here's 8, somewhere about there. And if I connect those points, and I've got this really ugly ruler. It's like, gosh, my x looks like it's about 13.95. And my y is something else. But we'll take a look at this. I want to show you a different way that I think is much more accurate and maybe easier. So originally we had this equation up at the top. We had 153s plus 47d equals 2,649.34. And that's what we had up there at the top. I just copied it down. Here I have y equals 0.80x. Well, I can move this over. If I move this over, now I have negative 0.80x plus y, and there's really a 0 there, equals 0. All right, so let's rewrite this. Negative 0.80x plus 1y equals 0. And I can plug this into the matrix. I can go blue matrix. And by the way, this is one of those tough problems that if you don't get, it's not the end of the world. 153, 47, 26, 49.34. I need you to know how to do 30 questions really well. If you do 30 questions really well, you're going to be fine on the test. And this is not one of the ones you have to know. So then I'm going to press blue, then matrix, arrow to math, RREF. Oop. Let's clear that out. So blue, then matrix, then math, then RREF, and then blue matrix, enter, enter. And I get 13.9, 11.12. So 13.9 and 11.12. So what came first? Well, basically pressed a discounted ticket. So we had the first ticket was the standard, and then the second one was the standard, because we have standard as being the X, and discounted was the Y. And that's why I was like, gosh, I don't even trust my graph. So I didn't trust my graph, but my discounted ticket. So my standard ticket looks like it's about $13.95. My discounted ticket, I can't really tell. It's somewhere between 10 and 15, and I can't really tell. So my standard ticket's 13.9, my discounted ticket's 11.12. Best answer choice for that one is D. Not a question that I would worry about. If that one doesn't make sense to you, I would not worry about it at all. Okay. Moving on. This is another question that I don't really worry about, but it's easy to do if you know what you're looking for. A sequence is defined by F1 equals 27. and Fn equals 1/3 f of n minus 1 for the whole number n. So in this particular question, when we look at this, it asks, okay, what's f of 1? That means what happens when n is 1? When n is 1, that's 27. What that tells me is if I have here 1, 2, 3, 4 terms 1, 2, 3, and 4, my first term has to be 27. Oh, well, that gets rid of these two. Right now, we have a 50-50 chance of guessing. But then this is 1/3 of that because it has a 1/3 in front. So what's 1/3 of 27? Well, let's try that out. 1 divided by 3, parenthesis 27. 9. So which one has 9 as the second one? Well, that's A. So this one's A, but once again, this is not one that I would stress. A table represents some points on the graph of a quadratic function. Well, first off, they gave me a table, so I know this is going to go into Desmos. They tell me it's a quadratic, so I need to make sure I'm using a quadratic. Please don't forget, we have an X here, and then we have a Y, all right, because they're just trying to scare you with that. And they ask for what is the range. If they're asking for the range, they're asking for the Y values. So let's go input this into Desmos and see what we got, and we'll go from there. So we have 1 divided by 2, 1, 3 divided by 2, then we have 2, then we have 5 divided by 2, and then we have 3. And over here we have 7 divided by 4, 4, 1, 9 divided by 4, 2 is a 4, then we have 7 divided by 4, and then we have -2. Okay, so we want to zoom in a bit so we can see those points. So there's our points, and we're going to go ahead and hit the add regression. It gives us a linear, so I have to do an arrow to go to the next one, which is a quadratic. And we now have our function, all right? So when I look at this, it's like, that right there represents a max. So I'm going to write down that point, and I'm going to draw this on my paper so we can talk about it better on the paper. And our vertex is at 1.5 and 4.75. That's our vertex. And if I scroll down, as I scroll down, it looks like it goes on forever and ever. So that's kind of our description. We really don't even care about the rest of this. So I'm going to stop my share at that. And there's my vertex. I know that's written poorly, but 1.5 and 4.75. This is a maximum. So that's the highest point, which means that's my highest Y value. And if I were looking at this, remember they're asking for the range, and range is the Y value. So it looks like it goes from -infinity, less than Y, less than or equal to 4.75. Bad news. I don't see 4.75 as an answer. Okay. And by the way, we can scratch that part off. And the reason I knew it was 4.75 is because this is my X and this is my Y, and we're interested in the Y values. All right. So we're interested in the Y because we're talking about the range. So 3 divided by 2, that's 1.5. Well, that gets rid of that. That gets rid of that. Then we have 19 divided by 4, and we have 4.75. So this is our 4.75, and this is our 4.75. So we know it's one of these two. It's all real numbers less than or equal. Are the numbers less than 4.75? And the answer is yes. because y is less than or equal to 4.75. So this looks really good. This says all real numbers greater than or equal to. Nope, not right. Greater than would be turned this way, and it's not. All right. Next thing, it says which expression is equivalent to 2a plus 5? And when I say equivalent, they're asking for it to be the same. Okay, well, it'd be nice to know how to actually do this, but I'm not going to teach that here. I'm going to just show you the quick way to use Desmos to do this. We're going to plug this into Desmos, and if it's equivalent, it needs to be the same. So I plug this into Desmos, and then I plug all these into Desmos and see which gives me exactly the same thing. So here we go. And parenthesis 2x plus 5, because it won't accept the a, so we have to plug in an x. Oh, and this has a typo. This should be 3x minus 2. I'm going to go back and stop my share for just a second. This needs to be 3x minus 2. And I need to, while I'm thinking about it, fix this other problem as well. Okay. So 3x minus 2. So it needed to be 3x minus 2. I left off the x. So let's go back and reshare that. So I need it to be the same as that. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit. That's plenty good. Okay. So there's our graph, and we're going to try the first one. The first one is 17x minus 10. It's like, no, it's not that. Then we have 6x squared minus 10. And oops. Again, 6x squared minus 10. And it's like, oh, we do get a parabola, but it's not the same one as that black one, so that's not right. So then we try the next one, 6x squared plus 11x minus 10. And let's take that away, or let's hide it. Guess what? It lays directly on top. The black one's directly on top of it. So that means our answer choice to number 33 is C. Once again, all we did was plug these in, made that correction, and C lay directly on top. That means it's the same. So that's our answer. Appreciate you watching. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you.